Good evening and welcome to our fourth webinar in our five-part series in collaboration with YPO Jewish Group, YPO Mosaic, Tel Aviv Alumni Organization, and Tel Aviv University Global Leadership Community. My name is Adva Oren, and I'm happy to have you join us for this fascinating session with Professor Irad Ben Gal, where we will explore how AI is transforming not only how we play and watch sports, but also how technology drives innovation in the industry. Now, I would like to invite Nirit Harel, representing YPO, to share a few words and set the stage for tonight's discussion. Nirit, please.
Thank you, lovely Adva. It's always nice to be with you. So my name is Nirit Harel. I'm a member of YPO Israel, YPO Angelino, and YPO Portugal. I also have the great privilege of chairing the YPO Jewish group, Jewish community. Now in its 8th year, we're over 1,600 families and growing because of these times. If you're not a part of us, please, we encourage you to join. It won't cost you anything, and there's lots of activities, including our amazing crown jewel, the annual retreat, which is coming up this spring. So please feel free to reach out. On behalf of Ben Perry and myself, Ben being the Mosaic champion, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but we're both honored to have you at the next chapter, the 4th out of 5th session of the series that's co-sponsored by the Mosaic chapter and the YPO Jewish group in partnership with the amazing Tel Aviv University Alumni Association. This one focusing on the fascinating and timely subject of sports and AI. This will be recorded, so feel free to share with others who were not able to be here with us. And we'll begin with comments by Professor Ben Gal and then move to Q&A. So I invite you to please send any questions my way, and I'll try to field those at the end of the call to make sure we fit in as much as we can. With no further ado, I'll very quickly introduce our amazing speaker. Professor Irad Ben Gal is the head of the Laboratory for AI, Machine Learning, Business and Data Analytics at Tel Aviv University. He's a world-renowned expert in data science, AI, and machine learning with more than 25 years of academic and practical experience in those fields, including R&D collaborations with companies, all the good ones, Oracle, Intel, GM, AT&T, Applied Materials, Siemens, Kimberly-Clark, Nokia, to name just a few. He's written 4 books, published more than 150 scientific papers and patents. He's supervised dozens of graduate students and received numerous awards for his work. He held a visiting professor position at Stanford, and he co-heads the TAU Stanford University Digital Living 2030 research projects that focuses on future challenges of modern digital life. He co-founded CB4, that's a clever title, CB4, a company that's backed by Sequoia Capital and provides granular predictive analytics solutions. He's an advisory board member in several startup companies that focus on AI applications. We're just delighted to be with you, Professor Ben Gal. Thank you for finding time to share words with our community. Bevakasha.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. I will share my screen. I hope you can see that. And let me know if everything works well. Do you see it, guys?
So far, so good.
Okay, great. So I was asked to talk about sport and AI. I must say that usually I give more academic speeches, and I think that it's part of my new role as the head of the Sylvan Adams Sport Institute in Tel Aviv. I'm not a sport researcher. I think that I was dragged into it or brought into it because I'm doing sport myself. So just few pictures. I think you mentioned most of them, but with my lovely family, 2 boys and a girl, and I was a water polo player. This is not me. This is my son. Like science. Most of the interesting stuff are hidden or covered underneath, and there all the action happens. And I love also to surf. And beside that, of course, we have a lot of work in our laboratory, Lambda, that you talked about. founded two companies. One was acquired by Gap and was part of the initiative with Stanford that you mentioned. So as I said, the major reason that I'm talking about sport is this nomination as the Sylvan Haddad Sport Institute. Sylvan was founding and helping and supporting this institute with a mission to help sport in Israel and to bring science into sport. What you see is the amazing new building that will be launched in May, and I will be delighted to have as many as people that would like to come and see. It will be an amazing institute. We have top researchers and top equipment and everything needed. And, you know, even medals, when you talk about the last Olympic, despite the war, Israel performed quite well with respect to our own history, and we hope to continue with this track. What we do in the Institute is, of course, to bring a lot of research to different type of sports. What you see here is different systems that track online different activities. We work both with professional medalists, Olympic medalists, as well as amateur sportsmen that want to improve their performance. And I'll show you one example is this pool, a current pool that is actually monitored by many cameras that analyzes exactly the motions of the different people. Let me see if I will go into it later. So this is the introduction. I want to talk about AI in sport. Actually, it's a game changer that happens even today, affecting athletes, coaches, fans, broadcasting quite vividly and quite intensively. And it's only growing and growing in a rough rate. But before I'll go and talk specifically about AI in sport, I will say a few words about AI and the states of the AI today, where we stand. You know, we are all, of course, surrounded by AI, and I assume that many of the people here are working with all these LLMs model like ChatGPT and on. This is, by the way, a picture generated by ChatGPT when I asked to generate something related to AI in sport, and it includes many of the elements that we will talk about today. So player tracking, and you see those monitors within either wearable or within the body of the athlete and so on. So AI in a very simple, rough statement is not new in a sense. It existed from the 50s at MIT. Basically, the main idea of AI is to create a system that can mimic tasks that people associate with intelligence, you know, like thinking, playing, planning, and, you know, writing, and so on. And you can definitely talk about those systems when we think about intelligence system in sport. Now, in the beginning, most of the AI system, the intelligence was actually of human expert. This is why it was called expert systems. And computers were only there to rearrange the data and to retrieve it smartly. Then, you know, around the 70s, 80s, and on came machine learning, where basically those computers or algorithms were given known examples in a supervised way and were asked to actually find patterns that could actually be used for a task like prediction and so on. So this is the machine learning. And in the last 15 to 20 years, came those models, the deep learning models. They are called that way because they are deep models with many, many parameters that can actually represent very, very complex functions. And in the last decade, everyone could see how it affects our own life in smartphones, in our surrounding, and so on. So basically, AI became a very active player in decision-making process, including in sport. Now, why it became so, why this progress was so intensive in the last year? Basically, we had the machine learning, let me take the pointer. We had the machine learning algorithm that when we added to them a lot of data that were actually there due to cloud and other infrastructure, and when we added to it also large computation power by those GPUs, we could generate complex model, as mentioned before, with a lot of parameters that previously could not be trained because there was not enough data to train them, and actually built those deep networks. And some of them are, as I mentioned, those large language models that we are all experiencing. So this is, in a nutshell, what was happening in the last few years. And not surprisingly, or maybe in a way surprisingly, many of those large models, deep learning, became very efficient, and they crossed the human performance that is represented here by this red line. So, for example, in general language understanding, when you compare it to glue, and the benchmark are Stanford's graduate students, you see that those models perform better than that starting from early 2019. And similarly, when you look at visual challenge like VQA, again, that when you have an open-ended answer to question about images and object in the image. So in a way, there are many, many systems that can assist in sports that now are much more accurate than the human threshold. However, there are several, we are not there yet. There are many other challenges that are still, the AI is still lagging behind human performance. For example, visual common sense reasoning. Now, why do I mention it? Because it is very much relevant also to sports. So if you want to ask a question like who should get the ball and why, this involves not only understanding the objects and the rule in the field, but also some kind of understanding and common sense reasoning, what could happen, what could have happened before, in order to better analyze it. And in that sense, it means that we still need human trainer, we still need many of the methods that we use today, equipped and along with AI systems. So this is one note about the state of AI in terms of the human benchmark. And then also one thing also to remember when we talk generally about alignment with industrial innovation trend, I want to mention that, if you look at different trends along, the last, 40, 50 years, you'll see that the most important innovative companies were in the beginning, in the 80s, were those that were totally physical, GM, energy companies, automated companies, and so on. Then came the digital hardware, IBM and Intel and so on. All of them, by the way, took part in other ways, but I'm talking about the the initial waves of innovation. Then we had the digital software, the Apples, the Googles, and so on. And from in the last 10 years, definitely in the last few years, what we see is that the digital and the physical are bound together. Amazon is a great company, not only because it has the largest supply chain, but is a very good AI system that supports it. Same goes with Meta, and even in Israel, those companies, Uber, for example, or Waze and Mobileye, were companies that actually were connecting together the physical and the digital. And in a way, this is very much relevant to sport because eventually in sport, there is a physical existence that is there, and we should elevate the performance with digital and AI that is basically available there. So this was my, 5 minutes about AI trends and where we stand. And now let's look what happens in sports. So I'll talk a little bit on each one of these subjects, but AI is everywhere in training, in predicting, modeling for performance, in strategy improvement for games, injury prevention, fan engagement, and so on. I will talk about it. Later, if people want, I can give some sources of papers that were written also in Tel Aviv University. So talking about performance analytics, first, I start with the Silva and Adam Institute. As you see, we have a lot of AI-powered systems that can actually collect the right data, analyze it, provide real-time input, and personalize it in terms of the profiles of the athletes. So, for example, this is, again, this current pool where you see that people are actually, I don't know if you hear me, but actually train and are being monitored by all these cameras around them to analyze exactly their movements. Similarly, all the metabolic system is monitored, respiratory, heart rate, cardiac output. Okay, so this is a little bit of about the performance monitoring in Silver Arms. Outside, of course, there are many AI and wearable technologies. All of us are aware of the smartwatches and rings and other sensors. They can track more and more tasks. Even, I will tell you, so of course, movements, heart rate, hydration, temperature, respiratory, and so on, but also mental ability, voice, and actually some of the research that we've been conducting is to associate through wearable and smart devices people to their cycle of mental strength in order to be able to find what will be the best time for them to try and improve their performance. And one interesting research I wanted to share with you, for example, with wearable is a research that we actually was actually conducted by Professor Iftach Gapner from our institute, from SASI Institute, that took measure from sport to the epidemiology following the area of vaccination with COVID-19. So as you remember, there was a lot of discussion about the effectiveness and the effect of those vaccines. I know that it's a hot topic now in the US. I won't go into the politics, but I would say that what was done in this research is actually to provide both wearable as well as a deep questionnaire to people that got vaccinated. In Israel, the rate was over 90%. That covered many relevant tasks, daily tasks, including mood, sleeping time, and so on. And with this type of measurement, what the team was able is to see that after, in the first 48 hours past vaccination, there were significantly changed nearly all the indicators, the one that are very often used in sport, in respiratory, cardiac output, temperature, heart rate, and so on. Following the initial 48-hour, these changes faded away, returning to the baseline level. And it was interesting to see it also in individuals that were asymptotic post-vaccination. And there are several analyses. I won't go into it, but the nice output of this article that was actually conducted with two other colleagues of mine that came from, again, epidemiology and medicine, was that you can use very well those measures to predict exactly where those post-vaccine phenomena are active and not. And you can actually even track prior to the vaccine whether or not people will caught COVID even before they would report it to their doctors. So it was a very relevant work. And another work that was related to wearable was the body area network optimization, a research conducted with colleagues from Stanford, as well as in Tel Aviv. And basically what we did, what we been doing there is to optimize the way that you collect information from various sensors that are either in body or wearable in order to reach faster decision, as well as to maintain the energy level of those wearables that are needed for a longer time. So what we showed is that basically we can utilize those wearables in a much smarter way and still get a very accurate information about different diseases and different status of the patients. So this was one part that is related to medical and medical issues. Another one, of course, is AI for injury prevention. This is a hot topic that is proven to be very, very active and very relevant. And actually, there are many ways that you can actually analyze the athlete, including biometric training load and physiological metrics, in order to find out what are the risks and to change some of those patterns in order to avoid it from becoming serious, including analyzing certain posture, certain movements that are actually are those that cause those injuries. Of course, when we talk about analyzing a group of athletes, there are a lot of AI used when we talk about coaching in a game. So here you see basically a picture of American baseball, and each one of these objects was actually tagged, including the different skills and the different statistic of each player. And then once it is tagged, automatically those cameras are analyzing their movement and creating those sort of a map. I won't go into this video, but it shows you how in real time you can analyze those different movements and find exactly those holes where you can attack the other team, and exactly it provides you the different way of building your strategy again in real time. We did something similar that was very nice, related to something that I believe that most of you are not aware of, a game called Goal Ball. I'll try to show a small video of it. This is a game of in a Paralympic game. So people with visual differences are actually working with the ball, and they do not see it, they just hear it, and they have to score. There are goals in both sides. And what was done in this case, the data scientist of the Paralympic team actually recorded and tagged manually many games of goal ball. In a way, it's a simple game to tag, and we're able to provide in real time information to the coaches. What should they do? For example, one very famous example was that Israel was the gold medalist, and we were winning the Chinese team. It was a total surprise, and part of the success was that the team knew exactly what were the weak and strong point of each player in the Chinese team, and in real time, when they got a sort of a foul, they could direct the goalie where to jump and actually do all the necessary recommendation to help the team. I will try to show you maybe a small video. Do you see the video, or do you see my my presentation?
Presentation, I
Okay,
think.
let me stop share, and I will do a share of the screen, and we'll show that moment.
Good.
Okay, so let me see.
For Israel, the opening ceremony. One of the icons of Israeli parasport. Same strategy from China. Whilst one wing shapes up the throw, there's a dummy from the other wing. It's the illusion of movement. So your opponents think the ball's coming from a different side of court. Players dummying throws or imitating movement. Really interesting to watch. Now Ben David, aggressive throw, and an early breakthrough for Ben David. Israel chasing their first ever women's gold ball medal, have an early advantage as Ben David finds the gap. Gets Israel off. Fantastic.
So this is a goal ball again. It's not static, but it's a very structured game So in a way, very easy to actually analyze. Let me just show again the presentation. Analyze the game and one second, I think I'm in the wrong one. Okay, so this is again this this system, and since it was such a major success, again based on a very hard work of people that were tagging those different videos manually. What they want from us now is to create an automated video tagging that will do pattern recognition and will provide a recommendation system that could work first, not only in goalball, but in many other sports, and in a much more scalable and automated way. So this is an example of how data science and AI can really bring a competitive advantage in sports. Talent scouting, I don't know if it was an AI that made this trade between Luka and Anthony Davis. If it was, something is wrong there, but you know, people are actually using AI to scout young talents in the draft. And of course, it includes video analytics, AI-driven recruitment platforms, and so on. And there are limitations. So you can actually analyze from a skill perspective very well the athlete, but there are always open questions that are challenging even sophisticated AI system, like the fit to the team, the chemistry, the personality issues, and so on. So there is a lot to do there. It's a very wide and developed area, people analytics in business for recruiting, for managing talents, and so on. And it is actually now becoming very relevant in sports, definitely in sports that are related to very big money. What we did in talent management or prediction of talents is again a work with the Israel Olympic committee. And the question is, can we identify young talented swimmers with the potential to become Olympic medalists? And the way to do it is to collect a lot of data that is relevant. Luckily, much of the data about many of the swimmers exist, and it's you can buy it. So you can actually collect the data, for example, of Katie Ledecky from the age of 12 or 14, and you can actually track and see how she was performing. When you have this data, you can actually create a model to learn those data and to do predictions in order to match the performance of that athlete with others and predict what will be the results later on. And then, of course, you need to evaluate it. And when we have developed, such a system, and you can see that when we took part of the data of Ledecky and we compare the prediction in blue and the real time in orange, you see that in many of the cases we are quite accurate. Sometimes we miss. This is not a small miss. You know, we're talking about seconds, so you know, sometimes tenths of a second means whether or not you'll get a medal. So it's not always that accurate, but in many cases you can actually predict quite good the performance. And this is also happening with other swimmers. And again, the idea is that, in Israel, the Winged Institute is responsible to decide to which young swimmers they will ask them to apply to become part of the young Israeli team. And those type of analytics are crucially important for them to decide how to do it. So this is part of the research on talent prediction that we are doing in the Institute. Of course, personalized training is very, very relevant. And you can see here, I mean, many of us know that today you have all those AI coaches that are personalized. But when you talk about more commercial and professional systems, for example, those in the left side, you see an analysis of a ball, a tennis ball, that is actually associated with the score and can provide a very good insight to the tennis player. How should they improve themselves, and how should they do it when they prepare themselves to a specific player that is either very good in some kind of backhand and forehand strikes and so on. Talking about AI, it's not only for the sports, the athletes themselves, but also for the referees. All of us are aware of the VAR, that in real time you can actually see and analyze, whether or not there was a goal. The guys that are my age maybe remember the goal of Maradona, that was actually either scored by God himself, as Maradona claimed, or by his own arm. But things like that cannot happen today when you are equipped with so many cameras that are analyzed it very sophisticatedly by deep network models. Same goes with fan engagement. So we talk about smart stadium, about virtual reality, about personalized data. We watch the same game, but each of us might be interested in different aspects of his own players that are those that he likes more, and to be able to obtain the right information and to equip it with virtual reality means a better engagement and a better experience. And this is something that many, many large companies are working. It can be in the field itself, or it can be, of course, when we talk about broadcasting, basically there you have much more opportunities to provide highlights that are generated by AI, that are actually summarized by AI, that are personalized by AI, and so on. So this is a very active area that AI is used to increase both the amusement and the personal connection with the sport. And we talk a lot about the physical, but what about the mental training? So there are several research that were conducted by Professor Hagi Pick, that was the former director of the center, himself a neuroscience and a sport researcher, that actually analyze what will be the best way to help athletes manage stress, to train them correctly. As I assume that many people here in the audience know that sometimes it's not about how you feel physically, but whether or not mentally you are prepared, but we are not looking at it scientifically enough. So we know that maybe physically we didn't train correct, but how should we bring ourselves to the right mental position when we go to a sort of a competition? including realistic simulation. And this is part of the research that Hagi and other researchers are actually doing. So I think that I absorbed my 40 minutes. I want to thank all the SASE team. I want to thank, of course, Sylvan, not only as a donor, but as he is a great guy, that a sportsman by himself, that is helping us to grow it with an amazing team. And I want to thank them all also. I think that, as the 21st century evolves, we will find a lot of time for ourselves, and much will be under, these issues of well-being. Sport is a very important part in it, and definitely an area that calls for research and innovation. So, the conclusion is that AI is all over. And I think that I gave you some example. I open it for question if you have. And I welcome you again to come to visit us at Tel Aviv University at the SASE Institute, or to, if you have some good ideas for collaboration, we'll be happy to hear about it. We open a sort of, researchers that are related to SASE, although they sit all over in different institutions all over the world. And definitely we look for collaboration also with industry, with companies, and so on. So thank you very much for your time, and I open it for questions and remarks.
Thank you, Professor. What an amazing and interesting and relevant presentation. We're really, really happy to have you with us. So my buddy Bruce has a question, which is actually a few parts having to do with nutrition. Bruce, would you like to ask the professor yourself? You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask him, unless you prefer that I do it.
Okay.
Oh.
Hi, Bruce.
I think I muted you accidentally.
Yeah. How about, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, Bruce.
Yes. Okay. Hey, Nari, how you doing? This was a great presentation. We're involved in a lot of sports, starting with mixed martial arts. We own part of PFL, and we had a number of soccer investments and different components. But I was just wondering, because I didn't, looking at the nutritional space and sports nutrition, I didn't see anything on the AI side of what you presented. So that's why, I was just curious your research and what you've done. And, we just recently invested in a NASDAQ gel company that is developing over 50 different formulas for individual sports. So I was just wondering, how AI can play into it and what has been done. There's so much, on nutritions and supplements and you name it, and
hydration is like a big one too.
Hydration. Yep.
Hydration is always a problem.
Yeah. It's I was short in time, but definitely there is one hidden slide there with nutrition. I think that I probably should have talked about it, but we have
a couple minutes if you want to raise it.
Yeah, Professor. We have a nutrition specialist in our team. It's always related to the personal analysis of athletes that come. Part of it is not only the performance, but nutrition. And lately, we have a new faculty member that came from Stanford, Dr. Didi Amar, that also cover aspects of genetics. So actually to see both how different aspects of athletes, including sometimes nutrition, can be connected to the way that the genes are performing, and this is definitely a very large theme that is been also analyzed by collaborator in the medical faculty. So first, I will be very much happy to hear more. And if you have some questions that can become potentially a research master or a PhD, we'll be happy to hear about it.
Yes, I'll definitely connect you. One of our new Mosaic members from Australia, that's the head of gel tech, has been working with Monash University and their team in developing what kind of nutritions and sports gels could be used. You know, different athlete, a ping pong player needs different nutrients than a basketball player and things like that, or soccer. So it'll be interesting what research they've done, and maybe you guys could collaborate, you know, at some point, you know, especially with all the stuff that you bring to the table.
There is also a SASI in Australia. I think it's in Melbourne, but we'll be very happy to hear from you.
They're working with Monash University, so that's where they're developing the gels. So great. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. That's such an interesting subject. It's something that I'm particularly interested in. Also, by the way, Professor Ben Gal, are you working in Portugal at all? Because I actually am involved with the city of Coimbra, which is the health capital of the country. And there's huge interest in AI and health. And since Portugal is really pushing towards sports, I think there's some interesting synergies here in case there's interest.
Yeah, I'll be happy to hear about it. Personally, I love to surf in Portugal, so
not far. We're not far from there, from Nazaré. But we're actually putting a huge emphasis on bringing Israeli startups here and helping them to compete for European funding on their R&D side. So where we've had doors closed, we've actually been able to open windows. If we set up subsidiaries here for R&D that replace what they were doing in Ukraine, we're able to actually get some pretty sizable investment for them, because we have more European projects in Coimbra, I think 77 concurrent projects, than any institution in Portugal. So if there's interest there, we're very happy to put you in touch with people there and see how we can help Israeli companies to go through a tough period and come out shining.
Absolutely. There are already some VCs from Portugal that are active in Israel. Even some of them invested in two of the companies that I was involved with, so definitely will be very happy to hear.
Well, there's the VC is growing here, but they do require some sort of a presence here in order to fund many of the times, because they're sitting on residual funding from the European Commission that has to be given to Portuguese companies. So anyway, it's an offline thing, but as I'm waiting for more questions from our amazing audience.
But many Israelis now are going to Portugal, so. I think that's for yes.
We're happier for them to hire locally and not to make what we're calling relocation now, right? So I don't want to make anyone upset at Tel Aviv University. We're not looking for relocation. We're very happy for everyone to stay there and work here. Anyone have some questions? Otherwise, I'm going to make a few shameless plugs, because I see David Brown is on the line and he's championing a great event for us in Chicago soon in March, which I had hoped to come to face, and I'm not going to be able to make it, unfortunately, because of family health emergency. But anyone have additional questions for Professor Ben Gal? If not, all we have to do is, I guess, to thank the professor again. Thank all of you for making the time to be here and being so conscientious. I saw everybody really entrenched in what you were saying. And I just want to remind everyone that we have our final chapter in this 5-part series coming up on March the 19th. So please make sure to come in and hear about environmental innovation, which is also a big buzzword now. But on behalf of the YPO Mosaic chapter and the YPO Jewish group, we really want to thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in person often and online often.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for hosting me. And I see some faces in the audience. I know. Hi, Mark. So
everyone knows Mark.
Yeah, of course. So thank you very much. Thank you for the time. And
thank you to the university, Adva and Sigalit and everyone for all that you do to make these things happen.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.